Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Mr. Buss, and this podcast will cover, for Unit 1, we'll cover what is a rock and continue on with that topic. And this is specifically types of rocks and then more specifically just talking about sedimentary rocks for this podcast. We're going to get into basically two things: how sedimentary rocks are formed and kind of looking at also then specific examples of sedimentary rocks. So the image on your screen is pretty typical of what you see with sedimentary rocks. What are the prominent features that you see are, they're laid down in layers. You see a lot of stratification or strata, different layers of rock, and that makes a lot of sense because sedimentary rocks are formed as sediments, materials, debris in water settle to the bottom and remain undisturbed and then get compacted and piled on more and more layers. This image particularly is actually of a rock formation in Utah, and these sediments formed in the Middle Triassic period, basically 250 million years ago to 200 million years ago. So these rocks are actually pretty old, and again, you can see this kind of definition here that these rocks in this part of it are actually siltstone, and above this little margin here, those rocks right there are limestone. So how are sedimentary rocks formed? Well, they're really formed when debris in fluid, such as minerals, sand, or mud, settles. And so here's an example in a little picture here. Let's say that you've got the ocean on the left, and then you've got the land here on the right, and you've got a river bringing fluid and debris dissolved in that fluid with it to the ocean. What you're going to see is, as the river brings all that mud and sand and dirt and debris, it's going to keep settling out and bringing more and more sediments that are going to keep accumulating, and it's going to be forming actually like a river delta. And it's just going to keep extending the land out and out and out further into the ocean, forming sedimentary rock. And the same process of sedimentation can happen, in lakes, the same kind of way, where, year after year, material sediments fall to the bottom of the lake. Could be dead organisms that lived in the lake. Could be kind of mud that got in there, sand. Basically, anything that is a sediment could start settling out in the lake, and over time, that lake's just going to get shallower and shallower and fill up, eventually become a marsh and just a lowland area, and then it's going to have all that sedimentary rock in layers that will have been formed. So here you can really kind of see what I mean. Here's the Mississippi River bringing with it a whole bunch of sediment, which is really visible there, and just keeps depositing sediment and forming up land, lowland area there. And over time, that sediment, as it's being brought from the land and emptied out into the sea there, is going to over time form sedimentary rock. So now you know how sedimentary rocks are formed, and here are 5 common types of sedimentary rocks. So here on the left we have siltstone. Here in the top middle we have sandstone, and then the top right we have shale, and bottom left we have limestone, and here is coal being mined. So basically, sedimentary rocks are all formed as sediments settle out and are pressurized over time, and kind of get the grains of sand and mud get stuck together and start forming rock. And the type of sedimentary rock really just depends on what was it that settled out. Was it mud? Was it sand? Was it organic matter? That's going to make coal. So there are different sedimentary rocks. That concludes our podcast on sedimentary rock.